And for our Spotlight segment, we will be joining our senior correspondent, Abidemi Dairo, in our digital studio, where he's standing by to speak to an international superstar.
Yes, and welcome everyone. On this segment today, we shall be shining our spotlight on the new family movie, The Waterman, which marks a directorial debut for British actor with Nigerian origin, David Oyelowo. Let's take a look at some clips from that movie.
This town is weird.
So I'm now being joined by the big man himself, live from the UK, David Oyelowo. Many thanks for joining us on the program today, David.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, I must confess to you, at some point I was tempted to do a part of the introduction in Yoruba just to see the reaction that you will have on your face.
You should do it. You should do it. I mean, you know, my Yoruba has got a little sketchy with time. I've spent too much time away from home, but, you know, I tend to be able to understand everything anyone is saying.
Oh, that's great. We'll give it a shot at the end of the interview then. Yes, so let's start with The Waterman in itself. And I must thank you for allowing me the opportunity to watch it in advance before this interview with you. And one of the things that struck me from watching the movie was the fact that it's a lot of things roll in one together. It is adventure, it is family, it is love, it is breaking a bad news, it is a whole lot of things. What is that message that you were hoping to pass with that movie?
I need to know more about it.
Yeah, you know, I loved these kind of films growing up. You know, one of my favorite films of all time was E.T., Steven Spielberg's film. I also loved the film The Goonies. And what I loved about those two films is that when I was a kid, I identified with those kids. And I loved the fact that my own emotional intelligence as a child was not being undermined or patronized in any way. I have 4 kids of my own, and I've seen them go through challenging things. And it doesn't mean that they are no longer children. It just means that they are children who are having to navigate some of the difficult things in life. And so, you know, I'm glad you were able to recognize that the film is trying to hit a lot of things. It's trying to illustrate magic and meaning, reality and fantasy, you know, love and fear, hope, and, you know, also trying to somehow control the future. Some of those things are contradictory, some of them live side by side, and that's what makes life interesting.
Yeah, speaking about growing and the lessons that have been learned over time, you have a Nigerian root and an origin, and would you say there is still a part of your Nigerianness that influences who you are today in your work, in your day-to-day life, and other activities?
Hugely. I mean, anyone who sees The Waterman will see the Nigerian influences in there. You know, it's partly why I have Rick Hassani has 2 songs in the film. You know, you'll see that some of the costuming even has Ankara materials in there. You know, I feel that when you are a director or an artist, that voice must permeate everything. And so who I am as a Nigerian, who I am as someone who was born in the UK, who I am as someone who's now lived in America for 14 years, who I am as a father and a husband, all works its way into the film. But, you know, I think as Nigerians, we're incredibly natural storytellers, and so that's always been part of why I think I became an actor in the first place.
Going back to the movie world in general, you must also know that at this time, Nigeria's Nollywood is up on the front foot right now. We're continuing to do a lot of things that is catching a lot of international attention. From your own perspective, and now as a director, what would you say are those things that you suppose that we should now bring into the Nigerian Nollywood movies to help us move to the next level? And are you open to probably joining in one of our productions anytime soon?
I think it's already happening. You know, what I'm really proud of with what's happening with Nollywood right now is that indisputably the production value is continuing to increase. The actors are getting more and more international recognition, quite rightly so. And as an industry, it is really growing. You know, the bridge between Nollywood and Hollywood is continuing to be built, and I'm very involved in that and want to continue to be involved in that, to be honest, I think the lines have become very blurred between Nollywood and Hollywood, in terms of the growth of not just Nigerian film, but fashion as well, novelists, music. So I'm very, very excited about that, and I can see it really exploding over the next decade.
And Nigeria has a very huge youth population. What role do you suppose the creative industry, entertainment generally, can really play in directing them towards the right path?
Well, one of the amazing things that's happened during my career, when I was growing up, my parents, who are, very Nigerian minded, so to speak, their focus was always academia. They had three sons. They wanted a lawyer, a doctor, and an engineer. Pretty classic sort of Nigerian aspirations. But I think because there's been more and more evidence of success in the arts, there is more openness from not just Nigerian youth, but their parents as well, to encourage them to go into the arts. I think when you see evidence of success, that allows you to aspire, and we have so much evidence of success now, so I think it's only going to grow, in terms of Nigeria's prowess in the arts going forward.
And one thing that is really, really very successful is The Waterman, and I must say again that I really, really do enjoy it. But before I let you go, we've come back to that part where I say you'll get the opportunity to speak Yoruba if you will. So if you want, you could give us maybe a parting message or a shout out in Yoruba, and let's see.
I told you. I can barely speak it. I can understand it. If you were to say anything, I would understand it. But to my shame, my Yoruba has decreased immensely. I lived in Lagos from the age of 6 to 13. So it's been quite a while since I've been speaking Yoruba. But if you speak, it's a great trick of mine that whenever I'm around, fellow Nigerians, they think I can't understand Yoruba, and I get to know what they really think of me when they start speaking Yoruba and they think I can't.
Do you have an experience that you really want to share with us quickly before you let it go? Like hear people say things about you and they never knew you were listening because they were speaking in Yoruba.
Well, I went to Model College, Meron, when I was living in Nigeria. And for the 2 years I was at that boarding school, I pretended not to be able to speak Yoruba because I have this accent. I grew up in the UK, and I remember on the very last day of being at Model College, I suddenly went around speaking Yoruba the whole time. So, my dorm friends who thought I couldn't speak it, they realized that I had heard every single thing they'd ever said about me, and that was a fun moment.
It must really be fun. I could imagine the look on their faces when they hear you speak Yoruba. I could realize that you understand. I can't thank you enough, David, for joining us on the program today. And please, let's stay in touch.
Thanks, Abidemi. Thank you so much.